What someone else lifts is totally out of your control. You know, people used to say, oh, you know, if Terry didn't smoke and drink all the time and things like that, he probably would have won World's Strongest Man. But I've got to a point in my career now where I'm proud of what I've achieved. If I can give anyone any help or inspire anyone to achieve what they want to achieve, that's the legacy I want, not the trophies and the titles. I've always been like really competitive, even since I was a kid. It was almost at the point like everything was a competition, and I could never just be like satisfied with just doing something and enjoying it. It had to be some sort of competition. But my dad put a lot of pressure on me to do well in sports as a kid. I remember being like 8 years old and I was doing judo 6 times a week. I'm doing sessions with the junior guys, but because I'm the biggest kid there, I'm then doing sessions with the adults afterwards. So I'm doing like double sessions a couple of times a week. And I wouldn't necessarily say that my dad was sort of like forcing me to do it, but I mean, deep down, I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me to do well. I was really shy as a kid. It's like all of the things that I hated in life. It's like, I hated talking in front of people. I hated being on camera, having photos taken. I hated being centre of attention and competing in front of like big groups of people. You know, if I'm in the spotlight, I couldn't stand it. Whereas now I sort of look at it and I'm like, I do seminars in gyms where I talk in front of 100 people about training. Obviously then I'm on TV as well, so I'm centre of attention in that respect. Strongman has given me so much in terms of like my personality and who I am now. He was so far ahead of everyone else. You know, loads of big hitters there and he just fucking dominated. In Bahrain he was fucking, I was just like, I'm refereeing, I'm just like, fucking hell. He was even better than he was at Worlds. It was ridiculous. I was blown away. It was really good. I could sort of sign off on 10 finals at World's Strongest Man. I'd be happy with that, because I think there's only a couple have done more than that. What's different for me this year, I mean, I've had quite a few life changes, which has sort of, you know, mixed things up a little bit, made things a little bit different in terms of my lifestyle. But, you know, the one thing I would say is it's sort of, you know, it's given me something to focus on, training for Worlds. I was so close to making the final last year and I came away from it just feeling like I was just that tiny bit off where I needed to be. A lot of people would probably think that me, you know, still continuing to do Strongman is probably not the smartest thing to do, because, you know, I am past my best and I accept that, and that's fine. I accept now that I'm not going to win World's Strongest Man, but I also know that if I'm in top shape and I've worked my arse off in training, I'm good enough to make the final. I've done 9 and I've been close a couple of times to getting 10. That's my personal goal now. I still enjoy going up against the best guys in the world. I still enjoy testing myself. It's all about what you can do, and you're competing with yourself really. If it's good enough to win, it's good enough to win, and if it's not, it's not. What someone else lifts is totally out of your control. I'm sort of one of these people where it's like, I'm all in. I don't have OCD, but I feel like I've got something along those lines where I just become obsessed with things. I remember last year when the American elections were going on. It doesn't affect me that much really, but I then became absolutely obsessed with researching stuff about American politics. I'm watching videos and I'm reading articles and I'm reading information about their policies, and that's sort of the person that I am. I sort of become obsessed with things very easily. Probably why I'm still competing. You know, I can't let it go because I'm still in that mindset of like being obsessed with Strongman. Something I am proud of in terms of my achievements, that when I went to World's Strongest Man, I think we hadn't had a Brit make the final for about 6-7 years. We'd not had a podium finisher since 1993, I think it was the last one. The following year I made the final in my second year, 2006. In 2007 I got back on the podium. You know, it always used to be almost a bit of a running joke that, oh, we've got a British guy in your group, they're going to come last in the group. You know, that's no disrespect to them, just the standard wasn't quite there, and now it really is. I feel like I had a big part to play in sort of moving the sport forwards in our country, which is, you know, a big achievement for me, something I'm very proud of. Sometimes there's a lot of like stress and pressure and everything else in the build up to it. Obviously no one sees that, and it's a very lonely time, and you know, you're sort of away in your thoughts a lot. Probably the darkest time mentally I went through was, I'd just come third at World's Strongest Man, and I came back, and I was sort of like, nothing's changed, everything's the same. I spent 12 weeks absolutely, like I've literally put my life on hold completely, just focus on that one goal. And then almost once that goal had gone, it was like, what now? You know, and obviously, you know, I should have been really happy, just come third at World's Strongest Man, and I was depressed for probably good 3 or 4 months afterwards. I had like this real downtime where I was just like, no one really cares. No one really cares, and it's like, you almost feel like you've wasted your time. I think it's just obviously the pressure of all the build up, and you're just focused on this one goal, and then all of a sudden, everything that your life has been for 12 weeks is gone, because you've just been focused on this one thing. I had to sort of do a lot of soul searching and stuff during that period, and sort of look at it and go, well, I'm not actually doing this for anyone else. I'm doing this for me. I'm trying to achieve this for me so I can be pleased with what I've done. People used to say, oh, you know, if Terry didn't smoke and drink all the time and things like that, he probably would have won World's Strongest Man. But I've got to a point in my career now where I'm proud of what I've achieved. There's a lot of things I could have done differently. Even sort of in my prime years, I perhaps wasn't as dedicated away from training as I should have been. There was a lot of times when, you know, I was out partying too much and not really looking after my diet and not looking after my body as well as I should have done. It's almost like the way I sort of am now away from training is probably how I should have been at that point. But yeah, I didn't want to work sitting in an office all day every day. I've done what I want to do, and I'd rather die at 65 and have lived the life I wanted to live than live till 100 and have never done anything. So Strongman's sort of given me so much in my life, helping other people with their training, helping other people achieve their goals and things like that. I sort of want to be able to gauge my success in 20, 30 years time, not by a couple of trophies on the wall, but the effect I had on people's lives. And if I can sort of have a positive effect on people, then that's fantastic. There's one thing in my life that I've not achieved that I wanted to, and that was win World's Strongest Man. When I was younger, if you'd have said to me, right, you know, you can win World's Strongest Man once, you've got to do this, do that, win World's Strongest Man once, and then that'll be it, you're done. Finish with Strongman, I'd have done it. At one point in my career, I'd have gone, yep, let's do that, because winning was everything. Whereas obviously as I've sort of gone through time and you start to realise the impact you can have on other people in a positive way. When I went through that real weight loss journey and I did the bodybuilding show and everything else, I've had so many people say to me, I find that more inspiring than what you've achieved in Strongman. I can have more of an effect on people's lives from what I'm doing now and what I've done for the last few years than I would have for winning World's Strongest Man. Zach, I always used to say, like, I really hope he doesn't want to do Strongman. As he's getting older, he's more interested in the gym. He always wants to come to the gym with me, and he tries to do some of the things, and he's trying to pick the sofas up when we're sitting on it and things like this, and he's like veins bulging out of his neck and everything, trying to lift stuff. He's been to a couple of my competitions in the past when he was really young. He didn't get it at all. I mean, there was a couple of times he's like, oh, you know, saw me on the big screen at Europe's Strongest Man. He's like, that's my daddy. But he's coming to watch me compete this year. I think he'll probably understand it a little bit more now, which is good. People say to me, like, how do you stay motivated all the time? And I don't really. Some days I get up and I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. I really don't want to go and cook all my food. I don't really, you know, just like lazy. But it's more about discipline and routine for me. It's those days when you're not motivated, that's when you really make the difference, because other people will go, oh, I'm not going to train today. That's the thing that sets the guys aside that are doing well at World's Strongest Man. Even when they have those days when they're not motivated, they still go in and do it. The bucket list, you know, like when I was younger, things I want to do with my life, I've done all of those things. I've got an amazing son and I've travelled the world, and I wanted to be a professional rugby player, and I was that for a couple of years, and you know, I wanted to be a professional sportsman. I've been that for 15 years now, and you know, sort of all of the things that I set out with life that I wanted to do, things I wanted to see, countries I wanted to visit, I've literally done them all. You know, if I drop dead tomorrow, then I've had a really good life, so I can't complain too much.